That we bring in Nikki Haley, 2024 Republican presidential candidate, former UN ambassador, former governor to South Carolina. Great to have you with us, Ambassador. Thank you. How would you respond in this situation?
Well, if you go and trade the merchant of death for an American, guess what? They're going
Brittany Griner and Victor Bout.
They're going to go take more Americans. And this comes from the weakness of the Biden administration. Putin should be scared to do this, and he's not. And he's getting really desperate. We know he's getting drones from Iran. He's getting missiles from North Korea. They are running out of the money. The sanctions are setting in. And it's, you know, he's getting desperate. This is what he's going to start to do. But this is a reminder to the American people. Whenever you doubt whether Ukraine needs to win, look at this mafia-type dictator who basically does not value human life and does not value freedom. And this is another example of that.
In terms of the process, you know, what happens now? What kind of language do you think is appropriate from the White House about discussing what's going on here in no uncertain terms?
First of all, they should let them know that they are not allowed to detain, wrongfully detain any American, that we do believe he's being wrongfully detained, and we should call them out on that. And we should not in any way wait for a trial, wait for anything else. We need to call them out and say, we know he's wrongfully detained, and you either fix this now or we're going to fix it. And if that means we go and we start putting more sanctions, if that means we squeeze them more, we do that. But they do have Americans there. They need to give them back. But when they get the merchant of death, the one person they desperately wanted, guess what? There's more that they want. That's what he's going after. And this is his way of getting attention again. This is his way of distracting from the fact they're losing the Ukrainian war. And I think we're going to see more of it. And now he had China show up and President Xi show up and shake his hand and talk about how they're going to change the world order for the first time in 100 years, and they're going to do it together. This is how they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the unstable position that Putin finds himself in economically at home, and so many people that have been recruited and pulled in to fight this war, many of whom we saw trying to escape and get out. And clearly, Evan Gershkovich was writing about the economy in Russia and how weak it is, which is clearly a message that Putin doesn't want to get around. But the candidates for the Republican nomination have different takes on the Ukraine situation. Former President Trump went after Ron DeSantis, saying that it's not smart to treat Russia and Putin as inferior. Watch this soundbite. I want to get your reaction to this.
Those such as Mitt Romney and Ron DeSantis, very much alike, who insist on arrogantly treating Russia as deeply inferior to the other nations of the world, with no history or culture or pride, are not only ignorant and foolish, but their attitude makes it impossible to negotiate peace. Absolutely impossible.
So the former president said it was a savvy move, a genius move to move into Ukraine on Putin's part. He said that at one point. What do you say to the former president about that statement?
I mean, this is a dictator and a thug. There wasn't anything savvy about it. This was just a malicious move to go take over a freedom-loving country. That is why it is so important for us to remember we have to defend Ukraine. This is a war for freedom. This is one where the dictators and the thugs of the world are trying to move in and take away all freedom-loving countries. That doesn't mean we put money in Ukraine. It doesn't mean we put troops on the ground in Ukraine. But we need to make sure they have the equipment and the ammunition to win, because you are either with Putin and Xi or you're with freedom-loving countries. And I'm telling you, this is not the time to get weak in the knees on Russia. This is the time that we give it to them strong, we give it to them hard, we do it with sanctions, we make sure that Ukraine has equipment, and we make sure we hold our allies together. If we win this, it sends a message to China, who wants to take Taiwan. It sends a message to Iran that wants to build the bomb. It sends a message to North Korea, who's testing ballistic missiles.
I got to ask you before you go, what is win? What is a win? What does it look like?
A win is the fact that Ukraine, it's easy. If Russia gets out, Ukraine has their country.
All the way out of Crimea as well?
If Russia gets out, Ukraine is back to a freedom-loving country. If Russia gets any part of it, they're going to keep doing this more and more. So this is like if somebody took Texas. We wouldn't be okay if somebody took Texas. You can't expect them to be okay if they take Crimea. Obama should have dealt with this in the beginning. He didn't do it. But you've got to make sure Putin does not get a win in this, because he has said Poland and the Baltics are next, and then you're looking at a world war, and that's what we want to prevent.
Ambassador Haley, former governor of South Carolina, good to see you, current Republican candidate for the nomination for the Republican Party. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Good to have you here.